And really, with minimum wage too, they hurt the little person. $15 an hour to work at Target, you're not learning the same skills as somebody who may repair airplanes. Um, that's a really specialized skill set, and that individual may never have an opportunity because somebody who wants to teach him can't afford to pay him minimum wage, maybe, right? Or maybe not as many employees minimum wage. But if there was lower wage regulation, a lot of people could go and learn at one point and really pick up the skills that are valuable, and make themselves valuable. So you got somebody who you're working at Target your whole life. What skills are you really picking up there? You're picking up some, I'm sure, depending on what departments you deal in. But it's different when you're someone who's on IT maybe, and they pick up some skills that are worth $250,000 a year, after doing this job, as opposed to the skills you learn at Target. Those skills might only market you max maybe $70K a year. It's about getting next to the experts, learning from the experts, being an apprentice, learning from the people who have done this already, because there's a lot of trade secrets to business in different industries. And speaking to the experts, I think that's the cheat code a lot of young people don't use, the older generation. So find out what you want to do, find somebody that's in there, and figure out how you can get next to them and work for free damn near. That's why internships are so great. And people are like, oh, companies are abusing internships and da-da-da-da. And I'm like, yeah, potentially. But they can be great too. And really, with minimum wage too, they hurt the little person. $15 an hour to work at Target, you're not learning the same skills as somebody who may repair airplanes. That's a really specialized skill set, and that individual may never have an opportunity because somebody who wants to teach him can't afford to pay him minimum wage, maybe, right? Or maybe not as many employees minimum wage. But if there was lower wage regulation, a lot of people could go and learn at one point and really pick up the skills that are valuable, and make themselves valuable. So you got somebody who you're working at Target your whole life. What skills are you really picking up there? You're picking up some, I'm sure, depending on what departments you deal in. But it's different when you're someone who's on IT maybe, and they pick up some skills that are worth $250,000 a year, after doing this job, as opposed to the skills you learn at Target. Those skills might only market you max maybe $70K a year. It's about getting next to the experts, learning from the experts, being an apprentice, learning from the people who have done this already, because there's a lot of trade secrets to business in different industries. And speaking to the experts, I think that's the cheat code a lot of young people don't use, the older generation. So find out what you want to do, find somebody that's in there, and figure out how you can get next to them and work for free damn near. That's why internships are so great. And people are like, oh, companies are abusing internships and da-da-da-da. And I'm like, yeah, potentially. But they can be great too. And really, with minimum wage too, they hurt.
Oh, baby. We back with another Hotep breakdown. I am
that Hotep Jesus dude. That Hotep Hotep Jesus dude.
Welcome to the stream. Hope all is well in your life. You're not running around here with the Megatron. Let's warm into this conversation real easy. Let's start right here. As you already know. Nope, not that. Let's go here. Let's go there. Hold on. You wasn't supposed to see that. You wasn't supposed to see that. I love when I do that. All right, let's do it like this today. We're gonna run straight down the trending topics. Number 1, Coachella, distraction. Vinny, I think that's some soccer shit. Yeah, there it is right there. Yeah, distraction. Busquets, distraction. Although I do like this distraction very much so. I do indeed. My Pillow CEO makes continued false statements about the 2020 presidential election. Oh yeah, we're going to be talking about that. We're going to talk about that in a second. This is on the heels of some statements made by President Trump. We're going to talk about that as well. Mitch McConnell, angry white men yelling at each other basically. SAG Awards, if it ain't the Grifty Awards, it don't matter. Wendy's Twitter account, distraction, PG-13. The new Batman kind of looks dope. I'm not gonna hold you. I'm mildly interested in watching it. Don't know who that is. John Lester, baseball, definitely a distraction. Kirby, his cutest years, distraction. Ronald McDonald House. Now this is funny. Now let's talk about this shit. This shit is funny. Hold on, I think I have what is wrong with the world? Hold on, something's not right. I don't have my Mozart. We gotta fix that right now. I need my Mozart.
What?
Oh man. My man got a master class. All right, let's skip that. Let's go straight to right there. Okay, no, I thought I had a bookmark. All right, let's just do it from there. No, let's Ronald McDonald House. Let's dive into some juicier sources here. Jack Poso, Ronald McDonald House in Vancouver to evict children with cancer who are not vacationed. They ain't going on vacation. The Ronald McDonald House in Canada will evict all tenants, adults, and children over the age of 5 who are not vacation by the end of January. The father of a young boy with leukemia responses, "This is some kind of crazy evil like I've never seen in my life." Oh, this your first brush with communism? Let's hear what he's got to say.
This is a piece of paper. Can Lindsay zoom in on it? This is an eviction notice, I believe, to anybody older than 5 who's not vaccinated is getting evicted from Ronald McDonald House. So I'm just gonna go talk to the people at the counter and see if it's legit now.
Damn, Ronald McDonald took not even Ronald McDonald had no love for you. Ronald McDonald said, "Nigga, go get the vacation." Ronald McDonald's a communist. Yo, I'll never look at Ronald McDonald the same again. Every time I see him, I'm like, "You fucking communist." Wow. We don't need to see any more of that video. It's sad enough. Somebody go donate to his GoFundMe account or something. Here it go, right here. See, I knew it was coming. Here's his GoFundMe. Go ahead, man. Fund his grift, man. Help him get his life back together. Because he shouldn't have been in the Ronald McDonald House any goddamn way. So somebody get that man some money in a TV show or something. Let him get a season. I give him a season, man. Get that fool a season so he can get back on his feet. If he fucked that up, then ain't fucking. Did I just say that? I don't think I was supposed to say that. Steph Colonel, $5 super chat. Thank you. He said, "If it ain't the Grifties, they can miss me." Hey. Jabari Allen, is it an unhappy meal? Bro, what's going on in the world? So, Ronald McDonald kicking people out because they won't get the vacation. GOP cool. Everybody mad about what Trump said. We're gonna play the tape. We only gotta play a little bit of it. We don't need to listen to all of it. Half of it to get you banned from social media anyway. Uh-oh. Look who is here down at the bottom. What could be going on with Mr. Andrew? Let's see. Lawsuit against Andrew, brought by Virginia Giuffre. I believe is how you say her name. I apologize if I butchered that. A woman who claimed he raped her when she was a teenager. Wow. Oh yeah? Okay. Will be allowed to proceed after a federal judge in Manhattan denied Andrew's request to dismiss the suit. You would think everybody would be talking about this. You would figure he wouldn't be 19. He'd be up here somewhere. But you know, they're very slick. You know, the timing of news is like they'll hit you with it all, man. They'll hit you with Coachella. The games is on. Angry white men in Congress. Hold on, let me exit Slack. My bad. I know y'all heard that. The distractions, just distractions. All the distractions come out. That's why you always gotta pay attention when the distractions come out. They crying about Trump, and then you come down here, and what are they talking about? Some more sports shit, I guess. Then down here is where the grown folks business at. This is what we're going to be covering today. We're going to play the Trump tape first. We're going to read this article from AP, and then we're going to dive into some Thomas Sowell. Some good lessons from Thomas Sowell. Lots of highlights. I've been meaning to show you this over the past few streams. I know y'all keep hearing me reference to things in that book. Well, we're going to share those today. It's just funny that the 7% in December was trending today, right when I needed to do this research. Dinesh D'Souza's even grifted his way to some relevance. He talking about Betty White's death. That's usually why I just mind my business. I don't even like to talk about all that shit. Or tweet about it, at least. They just take tweets out of context. Latinx is trending. Wow, really? The language with only two genders? Wow. The quartering. You know, what is this? Some sort of troll farm here? What kind of account? Latinx is a term exclusively used by racist white people who secretly feel inherently better than brown people. Prove me wrong. Well, actually, I think I agree with that. Wow. It's right. This is right. It's absolutely right. So this is them trying to force their debauched culture, their Eastern European debauched culture, and infiltrate our wonderful republic with it. Here they are infecting our Latino and Latina communities with their filth. Let's move on before I say something I shouldn't say. Let's jump right here. Let's get the class started. Real quick, before we do that, we gotta show love to the peoples that show love. We gotta show love to the people that show love. So let's do this first. And then we're gonna get into the presentation. Right here. Boom, 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 boom. Shout out to Lauren, supporting Wednesday Wisdom with the one and only Hotep Jesus. Appreciate you. Fire, fire, fire emoji. KD Repair, make sure. Hey, yo, you want to stream? You want to get you a nice PC build? This the cat you got to hit up right here. KD_repair. This the dude you got to hit up. This your computer guy. Get you a new PC. Whether you want to game or game and stream at the same time, you got them for the low. But hurry up, because China be bugging with the parts. You know what I'm saying? Tariffs and shit like that. Tariffs and embargoes. Afternoon class starts now. Jabari or Judah, appreciate you. Share this out. Get retweeted. I appreciate you, man. It's all love. Let's jump right into this article. U.S. inflation soared 7% in the past year, the most since 1982. Associated Press publishes Mr. Christopher Rugaber about an hour ago. Okay, my highlights are down here. All right. I'll read this first paragraph because it's quite flattering. Shout out to Joeflation. Remember they asked him, they said, hey, cancel rent? He was like, yeah, all right. You better not. You better not. All right, Washington Associated Press. Inflation jumped at its fastest pace in nearly 40 years last month, a 7% spike from a year earlier that is increasing household expenses, eating into wage gains, and heaping pressure on President Joe Biden and the Federal Reserve to address what has become the biggest threat to the U.S. economy. Remember this. Remember this. Remember this. They created this. They literally created this. Oh no. It's the flu. Alright, let's jump down straight to my highlights. Fuck this nigga. Excuse me. Nicole Parmesan, bakery owner in Minnesota, said she is increasing prices for her cookies because of a surging costs in butter and other ingredients. Remember when we're going to go over it too. I'm going to spoil it now. I'm going to talk about it later. The revolution in Russia that I always tell people about was a pivotal point in Western culture. They were reduced to trading in currency was so bad they were reduced to trading in bread. Let's continue. We'll get into that later. So Sowell is goated. Her basic cookies were priced at 99 cents each, while premium versions, such as white chocolate, were selling for $1.50. But Parmesan said she will have to bump up the prices on her basic cookies to the premium price. We have to make money, she said. We are a business. We don't want to lose our customers, but I think we might. You know what Miss Parmesan should have did? She should have voted for Trump. Oh man, closing costs rose 1.7% in December. There was some relief last month. Gas prices dropped 0.5% in December, yet they are still 50% higher than a year ago. Joeflation. People voted for this. You voted for this nonsense. Because you didn't like somebody's tweets. Softest epoch ever. Ever. Has to be. Just soft. I don't like his tweets. Please give me high gas prices. How you sound? Oh, just stupid. Dard CEO Gene Lee recently told investors that this is the toughest inflationary environment we've seen in years. On Tuesday, Chair Jerome Powell, just the Fed guy, Fed mouthpiece, told Congress that if it becomes necessary to fight high inflation more aggressively, the Federal Reserve is prepared, and we read this in the article yesterday, prepared to accelerate the interest rate hikes it plans to begin this year. So they want to raise the interest rates, and it's going to say right here 3 times. They want to raise it 3 times. Let's get right to the point. Let's get to the solar. Those rates will likely increase borrowing costs for homeowners or would-be homeowners, auto purchases as well, for business loans, and potentially slowing the economy. We spoke about the bonds, right? They slowed down on bonds. We spoke about that yesterday. And then again here, the ships at the docks are still waiting to unload. And now they want to act like they don't know why this is happening. And now this is the reason or the excuse for deflation, and we're going to dive into some Sowell now. But first, let's cut to the Trump video. Let's listen to this Trump clip here. This is just funny. Before we dive into the Sowell, let's give you some of this. I think it's right here.
Rigged election.
Why is it that you think that the vast majority of your allies in the United States Senate are not standing behind you? We did have that statement by Mike Rounds.
Because Mitch McConnell is a loser, and
Yo, how did we trade this man for high gas prices, yo? This really, I just don't get it.
Is it that you think that the vast majority of your allies in the United States Senate are not standing behind you? We did have that statement by Mike Rounds.
because Mitch McConnell is a loser, and frankly, Mitch McConnell, if he were on the other side, and if Schumer were put in his position, he would have been fighting this like you've never seen before.
Oh my God! So that's what got Twitter all in a tizzy. Man ain't got a Twitter account. Everybody all in the tizzy. So we're gonna break down these articles with a little bit of Sowell. Hold on, let me check on the chat. Let me make sure the chat is good. Chat, everything good? Everybody happy? Everybody good? Let me pull up my mentions and we're gonna just run through this Sowell real fast. Just want to make sure I'm showing love to those who show love. If there's anybody here, Donovan. Looks like Donovan has tweeted me. Let's show you Donovan's tweet. Week 11. Now Donovan's somebody who is suffering from some ailments. I'll let him tell his story. But he's been on a Hotep hunter diet, which is quite interesting. The only meat he's consuming is the meat that he hunts, and the rest of his diet is holistic, from the earth, plant-based, and he's loving it. He hasn't felt this good in years, he says. We linked him with Project Rook, and this is a wonderful thing. Okay, so nobody shared it. Y'all can kiss my ass. Let's get back to the Sowell. Howard Stern then turned his back on Djokovic. Just distractions everywhere. This is what they don't want you to know. All right, let's open up. Let's go here. Let's go. There. Cool. Hold on. That's not even the right page. Let's get us on the right page. That's deep in the document. Let's go to 493. Are we gonna start here, or should we start? Yeah, we can start here. Hold on. I just want to make sure I got y'all here, and then we can dive into this. All right. So boom. Federal Reserve forecast of inflation during the 1960s and 1970s. I'm sorry, this is Thomas Sowell, Basic Economics. Yeah, I can see that. Federal Reserve forecast of inflation during the 1960s and 70s underestimated how much inflation was developing under both William McChesney Martin and Arthur F. Burns, but during the subsequent chairmanships of Paul Volcker and Alan Greenspan, the Federal Reserve overestimated what the rate of inflation would be. So here he's just showing how from one chair to another, It's a whole lot of rigmarole, as we saw with Jerome Powell, who now sits in said seat. All right, continues here. As the Federal Reserve tightened money and credit in the early 1980s in order to curb inflation, unemployment rose while bankruptcies and business failures reached levels not seen in decades. So what we just read in the AP article, I want you to just take this information. It's dated, and try to figure out. It's dated and timeless at the same time, and try to figure out what we have coming for 2022. And maybe beyond. So here is interesting phrase from this guy, chair Paul Volcker, demonized by the media, right? Polls plummeted. All right, so right here, however, not even those who have faith in the Federal Reserve's monetary policy was the right one for dealing with rampant inflation, had any way of knowing how long it would take or whether Congress's patience would run out before then, leading to legislation restricting the Fed's independent authority. One of the governors of the Federal Reserve during that time later reported his own reaction. He said, "Did I get sweaty palms? Did I lie awake at night? The answer is that I did both. I was speaking before these groups all the time. Home builders and auto dealers and others." We just saw that in the AP article. Do we got to go back? Let's go back. Maybe we got to go back. All right. Ooh. Basic incomes. So here, household expenses. Where's the other one? Let me see. Right here. Borrowing costs for home and auto purchases. You see it right here? The rates would likely increase borrowing costs for home and auto purchases. And we flash back to Sowell. It's going to say right here, I was talking to home builders and auto dealers and others. It's not so bad when some guy gets up and yells at you, "You SOB, you're killing us." Right? He continues, he said, "What really got to me was when this fellow stood up and said in a very quiet way, 'Governor, I've been an auto dealer for 30 years, worked hard to build up that business. Next week I am closing my doors.' Then he sat down. That really gets to you." This is an account from a previous chair of the Fed. I believe this is Volcker. More lessons from Thomas Sowell. Let's continue. So I'll read here on into my highlights. The tensions experienced by those who had the actual responsibility for dealing with the real world problem of inflation, real world people like us. And Walter Williams talks about this, how the people who are furthest away from the problem always seem to want to try and solve those problems, and not the people who are actually experiencing these problems, right? White liberals coming into areas that they got no business being in, trying to tell people how to live their lives, that type of shit. Dealing with the real world problem of inflation in sharp contrast with the serene self-confidence of many economists in previous years who believed that economics had reached a point where they could not merely deal in a general way recession and inflation problems, but could even fine-tune the economy in normal times. The recommendations and policies of such economists had much to do with creating the inflation. Right here, the recommendations and policies of such confident economists had much to do with creating the inflation that the Federal Reserve was now dealing with. As economist and columnist Robert J. Samuelson put it, he said, "As we weigh our economic prospects, we need to recall the lessons of the Great Inflation. its continuing significance is that it was a self-inflicting wound. He calls it a self-inflicting wound, inflation. Something we did to ourselves with the best of intentions and on the most impeccable of advice. Its intellectual godfathers were without exception men of impressive intelligence. They were credentialed by some of the nation's outstanding universities, Yale, MIT, Harvard, Princeton, but their high intellectual standing did not make their ideas any less impractical or destructive. Scholars can have tunnel vision, constricted by their own political and personal agendas. Like politicians, they can also yearn for the power and the celebrity of the public arena. Grifting right there.
Teach me how to grip. Teach me how to grip. Teach me how to grip. Teach me how to grip.
Huh? That's what we dealing with. Even if their intentions are pure, their ideas may be mistaken. Academic pedigree alone is no guarantor of useful knowledge and wisdom. Oh my God. Let's highlight that. Oh, I love that. Academic pedigree alone is no guarantor of useful knowledge and wisdom. Oh my God. Show me some love. All right, so they're just some random highlights I wanted to show you. We're gonna dive into some more deep shit. Chat, you good? Everybody in the chat good? Let's flip to the next page. Class is in session. Shout out to Khaled Cooper. Khaled Cooper sent me a Cash App. Appreciate you. Dane Digital sent me a Cash App. Appreciate you. He said today's email is right on time. Get on my email list, Hotep Nation, hotepjesus.com. Amazing work. Amazing work. So I appreciate you guys. Cash App is actually more fun because, well, YouTube takes 30% of super chats, but I accept super chats. So chip in for your tuition for today's class, please, and thank you. Let's get back into the soul. What chapter are we on now? All right, so we're gonna go here. Hold on, let's get you the next page. All right, wonderful. Let's put this on your screen. So it says, for example, all right. For example, when the Federal Reserve raises, so we talk about interest rates, right? We talking about interest rates. Should we? Let's talk about interest rates first, right? Because this is what they say is a potential solution, right? This is what they say. Let's go back. Right here, rate increases. So talking about interest rates right here. They want to accelerate interest rate hikes. It's right. It said right here, AP, right? Associated Press. This is shit y'all be reading, right? An hour ago. All right. Talking about inflation. All right. So that's what they about to do. They about to do this shit. We gonna study it from Sowell now. Okay. So let's go to this page first. Okay. So under the section of investment and allocation, so here it says, for example, when the U.S. Federal Reserve System in the early 21st century lowered interest rates in order to try to sustain production and employment in the face of signs that the growth of national output and unemployment might be slowing down. The repercussions included an increase in the prices of homes, as lower interest rates meant lower mortgage payments and therefore enable more people to afford to buy more and bigger homes. This is important for understanding how interest rates affect the economy. It's a very important paragraph right there. All right, so reiterate. lower interest rates, the attempt to sustain production, the repercussions included an increase in prices. Increase in prices, as lower interest rates meant lower mortgage payments. So it's like almost like a supply and demand type thing happening here, and therefore enable more people to afford to buy more and bigger homes. Okay, so this is how just a rough example of how inflation, interest rates can affect said market. Now let's go back to this page. It says here, for example, when the Federal Reserve raises the interest rate on borrowed money in order to reduce danger of inflation, right? We're talking about inflation, Joeflation. That can cause home prices to fall. Savings to rise and automobile sales to decline, among many other repercussions spreading in all directions throughout the economy. Following all these repercussions and practice is virtually impossible. And analyzing it in theory is such a challenge that economists have won Nobel Prizes for doing so. So if it's impossible to do it, you basically getting paid to analyze some bullshit. Oh, okay. This is the page. This next page. So it says here, Keynesian economics offered not only an economic explanation of changes in aggregate output and employment, but also a rationale for government intervention to restore an economy mired in depression, rather than wait for the market to adjust and restore full employment on its own. Keynes argued that government spending could produce the same result faster and with fewer painful side effects. I think this is the key part right here. That sounds like a crack of bullshit. Let's highlight that. It says right here, his ideas of government spending will have fewer painful side effects. We know that to be, in practice, false. While Keynes and his followers recognize that government spending entailed the risk of inflation, so he admits it, right? There's going to be a risk of inflation, especially when full unemployment became an official policy. This is when they made up this bullshit called full unemployment, right? Which is some shit they made up. It was a risk they found acceptable and manageable, given the alternative of unemployment on the scale since seen during the Great Depression. Now it continues. We're going to talk about this thing called the Phillips curve. Now watch this shit. Later, after Keynes' death in 1946, empirical research emerged suggesting that policymakers could in effect choose from a menu of trade-offs between rates of unemployment and rates of inflation and what was called Phillips curve, right? So what we're talking about here is, I'll bring it up on the screen right now. And what they're basically saying is inflation goes up and unemployment goes down. And it's just like, what? First time I saw it, I was like, nigga, get the fuck out of here. Because I didn't know what it was, so I had to look it up. I had to Google this shit. I'm like, what the fuck is a Phillips curve? And then I looked at it, and let's look at this one maybe. Let's look here and let's do this. All right, you see that? So this basically saying where there's high inflation, you have low unemployment, and they even have like dates to go with this stuff, yo. Like here, like they got this one right here. Right, and you'll see this one, this Phillips curve, and they'll have dates, right? Key dates that supports their data. But we're gonna read some more Sowell and see how he refutes this Phillips curve. But when I first saw it, I'm like, nah, that's got to be some bullshit. You can't just say that high inflation means low unemployment. I could understand what you're saying, right? Like there could be some correlation there, right? Because if there's just money flowing throughout said society, then that must mean that people are doing well. And if people are doing well, it's probably because they're employed. You can try to surmise that, but you can't just peg that to inflation. And just say, yo, inflation is high. No, just not how it works. So let's go back. All right. Y'all staying with me? Y'all good? Y'all paying attention? Canon Hotep Negative interest rate coming soon. Oh no, they going the other direction. That shit is terrible. All right, so check it out. We got this on your screen. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So they talking about this Phillips curve, right? And he said, what could be followed, however, was the slow erosion of Keynesian orthodoxy, especially after the simultaneous rise of inflation and unemployment to high levels during the 70s. And I just showed you that graph previously. It was just stopped right at the 70s. Like 69 was like last year, I believe it was on that chart. So what happened in the 70s, you had inflation and unemployment was high. This is during the 70s. Undermined the notion that the government making a trade-off between the two as suggested by the Phillips curve. So Phillips curve was proven wrong in practice. Strongly suggest reading this paragraph at some point here on Milton Friedman and getting familiar with me, Milton Friedman. Breezy, appreciate you. Breezy said Keynesian is a fraud theory and was only created to justify socialist government projects, Woodrow Wilson probably initiated and has ruled in academia for over 100 years. Man, listen. What they do is they take simple concepts, make them real complex, and then sell it to people as education. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. They make it real complicated, and therefore, when they make it real complicated, they make it like they can make it their own subject matter and then turn it into a class and a course curriculum or something like that, right? It's like, I made up some shit and it's backed by some bullshit, but hey, I'm gonna teach it, and if you learn it, you'll be smart. It's like, right? Your economics is screwing things up, stupid. Wait, hold on, where my Mozart at, man? Y'all ain't telling me my Mozart stop. All right, let's get back to the soul. We're gonna go to the next page. What page was that? That was all right, so we're not going far. We did. Okay, so now we're going here. Boom. Okay, found it. Now we're gonna get into some shit. So, there's a chapter here, or a section, or whatever you want to call it. Inflation inside that book. Thomas Sowell, Basic Economics. It says here, inflation is a general rise in prices. Okay. This is in economics. Now, I wouldn't define it like that. Let's be clear. Let's be clear. I wouldn't define it like that. But that's how they define it. Today, that's not really what it is. But it is what it is. So they're not wrong. Today, it's just not. Anyway, the national price level rises for the same reason that prices of particular goods rise, namely that there is more demanded than supplied at a given price. So basic economics shit he goes through. So right here he says, whatever the money consists of, seashells, gold, or whatever, more of it in the national economy means higher prices. And this is what I was talking about before, where they think that just because there's inflation, that means there's low unemployment. It's just like, no. But you see what he says here, more money, higher prices. Okay? This relationship between the total amount of money and the general price level has been seen for centuries. Now look at this. Look how ancient this practice is. And this happened to King Mansa Musa as well. King Mansa Musa destabilized Egypt. I believe it was Egypt. It might have been another region too. I forget, but he went into the city and he gave out so much gold that it created massive inflation and just destroyed the economy of that African country in antiquity. And the same thing happened. And so here it says, when Alexander the Great began spending the captured treasures of the Persians, prices rose in Greece. This is a practice that we've studied since, or us as a species have experienced since Alexander the Great, the great Greek. Similarly, when the Spaniards removed vast amounts of gold from their colonies, In the Western Hemisphere, price levels rose not only in Spain but across Europe because the Spaniards used much of their wealth to buy imports from other European nations. Sending their gold to those countries to pay for these purchases added to the total money supply across the continent. None of this is hard to understand, and I highlighted it because it's not. He continues, he says, complications and confusion come in when we start thinking about such mystical and fallacious things as the intrinsic value of money. We might have to stop right there and reread that. Are y'all following me? This fool going in. Nico, Keynesian economics is king in Argentina. They teach it at the National University where is most ARG economics come from. Yeah, economists. Yeah, that's what they do. Right? They colonize you. They just colonize everything. These parasites colonize everything. So, can y'all see? No, we're not gonna get to that yet. Let's stay right here. This is the problem, and this happens with Bitcoin too. Shout out to Coinbits app, coinbitsapp.com or coinbits.app. Easiest way to get Bitcoin, especially if you're new. So it says here, none of this is hard to understand. Complications and confusion can come in when we start thinking about such mystical and fallacious things as the intrinsic value of money, or believe that gold somehow backs up our money or in some mysterious way gives it value. These are key. This right here is worth you could have just bought the book just for this sentence right here alone. Just for this sentence right here, you could have bought the book. The book is worth whatever you pay for that book, you pay for this sentence right here. I'm gonna read it one more time. And I'm gonna highlight it. Let's get this highlighted red. Purple. Complications and confusion come in when we start thinking about such mystical and fallacious things. What gives these things value? Your little snowflake emotions give these things value. That's what gives things value. Your emotions. The price of a stock is based on people's emotions. What don't you people get about this? And for people confused as to why you like gold, just stick around. He's going to explain to you why gold is important for money, however. But this is very important to understand. Okay. Continues, he says, for much of history, gold has been used as money by many countries. Sometimes the gold was used directly in coins for large purchases, in nuggets, gold bars, or other forms. Even more convenient for carrying around were pieces of paper money printed by the government that were redeemable in gold whenever you wanted it redeemed. It was not only more convenient to carry around paper money, it was also safer than carrying around large sums of money, such as metal that jingled in your pockets or was conspicuous in bags, attracting the attention of criminals. So he's making a case for paper money, and I have no problem with paper money, and we're about to see why. Let's continue. The big problem with money, he says it right here, the big problem with money created by the government is that those who run the government always face the temptation to create more money and spend it. We talk about big boy shit on this channel. Welcome. Welcome if you're just now tuning in. HotepNation.com/donate. HotepNation.com/donate. I appreciate y'all. HotepNation.com/donate. We're supporting the homeschool community all 2022. So you support us, we're supporting homeschooling. Let's continue. The big problem with money created by the government is that those who run the government always face the temptation to create more money and spend it. Whether among ancient kings or modern politicians, this has happened again and again over the centuries, leading to inflation. Here it is again. Leading to inflation. Spending money. Shout out to Halima. 25 of them Canadian joints. I love it. I love it. I love you. For this, many countries have preferred using gold, silver, or some other material that is inherently limited in supply as money. This is the key. Limited in supply. In order to have sound money, you need a limited supply. That's why Bitcoin is Bitcoin. People don't understand the money. You got people over here talking about, I don't mess with Bitcoin. Bitcoin, buy gold, and I believe you should have some gold too. I'm not saying taking anything away from gold, but you can't hoard gold and disparage Bitcoin. You just can't do that, because Bitcoin, for a fact, is limited in supply. 21, that's it. 21 M's, that's all we getting. You're not printing anymore. How much gold is on the earth? We don't know. We still got more to mine. It's not even a limited supply. It is a limited supply. We just don't know what the limit is. At least with Bitcoin, we know what the limit is. So get you some gold, but you got to get you some Bitcoin too. And he's literally, Thomas Sowell is literally making a case for Bitcoin. Because he's telling you right here, people are like, oh, your little fake money on the screen. He's like, yo, mystical and fallacious things such as intrinsic value of money, your feelings, somehow backs up money or in some mysterious way gives it value. Your feelings get a shit value. So we continue. It is a way of depriving governments. Right here. This is the key right here. So why are we using gold? This is the case for gold. If you want to make an educated argument for gold, Thomas Sowell gives it to you right here. You don't need to look stupid and disparage other asset classes. You don't have to do it. He says right here, why do we want gold to back the money? It is a way of depriving governments of the power to expand the money supply. He continues, to inflationary levels. Now that's why you came to class today. Tying it to something else, whatever that thing may be, hopefully as limited as possible. Saying one of this exists for whatever you creating, and that way we can make sure your ass ain't playing with the money. That's all it's doing. It's creating a contract that's hard to break. David Fox, you can't slug your grill with a Bitcoin. That's why you gotta get you some gold. Get you some gold, you know what I mean? And you good. But you gotta get you some Bitcoin too. Nico, appreciate you. He said, I remember an old video where you mentioned finding out Bitcoin limited supply wasn't strictly true. Could you explain that too? I don't remember that. I don't remember saying that one. You got to pull that clip for me, and hopefully you got enough runtime for context. Let's see here. So right here, it says, gold has long been considered ideal for this purpose, since the supply of gold in the world usually cannot be increased rapidly, right? That's what we're talking about, the stability of its limits. When paper money is convertible into gold, whenever the individual chooses to do so, then the money can be said to be backed up, quote unquote, by gold. This expression is misleading only if we imagine that the value of the gold is somehow transferred to the paper money, when in fact, the real point is that gold simply limits the amount of the paper money that can be issued. Sowell really gets it. He really gets it. And now you guys get it. Now we don't have to walk around this earth being stupid, sounding like these socialists and these fake capitalists who can't make an argument for capitalism and can't make an argument for socialism or communism. Because they don't know shit. All it took you was what, 53 minutes that we've been live so far? Let's continue. All right, so that's enough on that page. Let's go to the next page. We got a few more pages. I think I got, what page was that? We got 2 more pages to cover. Boom, boom. Oh my God. This section right here is just like bewildering. All of this. This is so, okay. So remember I told you this is the chapter on inflation. So there's more on this chapter of inflation. Okay, so I'm glad I found this. If fighting a major war requires half of the country's annual output, Then, rather than raise tax rates to 50% of everyone's earnings in order to pay for it, the government may choose instead to create more money for itself and spend that money buying war material. With half the country's resources being used to produce military equipment and supplies, civilian goods will become more scarce as money becomes more plentiful. This changed ratio of money to civilian goods will lead to inflation, as more money is bid for fewer goods and prices rise as a result. Now, it goes into this next statement he says here. Not all inflation is caused by war. Though inflation has often accompanied military conflicts, and that's why I got to bring this out. I'm sorry. Bada bing, bada boom. Ain't that how my Italian bro say it? Bada bang, bada boom. Bada bang, bada boom. You see it? This is the Patriot Report, unmasking the conspiracy of money and war, because I noticed as I was studying money, it was always tied to a war. Wherever you saw a panic, a Great Depression, or anything like that, it just seemed like war was just snooping around. Just happened to be in a picture. And it says right here, not all inflation is caused by war, though inflation has often accompanied military conflicts. This is very important to understand. Put differently, I'll read this. Even in peacetime, governments have found many things to spend money on, including luxurious living by kings or dictators and numerous showy projects that have been common under both democratic and undemocratic governments, like them George Floyd statues. To pay for such things, using the government's power to create more money has often been considered easier and politically safer than raising taxes. Okay, pay attention now. Pay attention now. This is in lieu of paying taxes. Put differently, inflation is in effect a hidden tax. Inflation is what? A hidden tax. Now you wanted to ask me, what did I, the definition. I think this is coming closer to a definition I can agree with. And he says it right here. Sowell says inflation is in effect a hidden tax. The money that people have saved is robbed, a part of its purchasing power, which is quietly transferred to the government that issues new money. He continues, he says, inflation is not only a hidden tax, it is a broad-based tax. This is AOC, right? Shout out to Ryan P. Appreciate you paying the tuition. I love to see it. The government may announce that it will not raise taxes, or it will raise taxes only on the rich. Where have you heard that before? However that is defined. But by creating inflation, it in effect transfers some of the wealth of everyone who has money, which is to say, it siphons off wealth across the whole range of incomes and wealth, from the richest to the poorest. To the extent that the rich have their wealth invested in stocks, real estate, and other tangible assets that rise in value along with inflation, they escape some of this de facto taxation, which people in lower income brackets may not be able to escape. When they start talking that rah, tax the rich, but you start seeing Joeflation on your screen, you've been had. You've been hoodwinked. Right here. You see it right here. Associated Press, U.S. inflation soared 7% in past year, most since 1982. This is what happened when you don't vote for Donald Trump. This is what happens when you don't vote for Donald Trump. You get this shit. Let's go back. Let's go back to the book. Right here. We got AOC. What she say? Tax the rich. Sowell Ben wrote this. Sowell Ben told you. A government may announce that it will not raise taxes or will raise taxes only on the rich. Where's AOC at? Let's bring her up on the screen. She the poster child for this, right? Right? Let's pull her up. Is this the image? Let's pull up the image. Oops. Here it go right here. Tax the rich. See it, right? AOC. Tax the rich. It's right there in front of your face. They don't hide nothing. So it says here again, a government may announce that will not raise taxes or will raise taxes only on the rich. However, that is refined. But by creating inflation, you'll find that people in lower income brackets may not be able to escape this de facto tax. See, either you know economics or you know economics. Okay, let's continue. In the modern era of paper money, increasing the money supply. And this is another lesson real fast. I just want to show people another lesson. When you get books like this, great works of art like Sowell, and they're fat and they cover it's basically a textbook. This is like a textbook. You don't got to read the whole thing from front to back. I know a lot of people get intimidated. Really for today's presentation, I just pulled out the section on inflation. I want to show y'all how to research, man. I just pulled out the text on inflation. I just went right to inflation. Here's a section on inflation. Let's study and see what he says. Then I made my highlights. Right? Let's continue. So, in the modern era of paper money, increasing the money supply is, can y'all see that? A relatively simple matter of turning the printing presses on. Thomas Sowell got jokes. However long before they were printing presses, governments were able to create more money by the simple process of reducing the amount of gold or silver in coins of a given denomination. That's true. They'll take things out of circulation. Thus, French franc or British pound might begin by containing a certain amount of precious metal, but coins later issued by the French or British government will contain less and less of those metals. Indeed, enabling these governments to issue more money from a given supply of gold and silver. Right. So, let's say it's like, an ounce at a certain price. They'll say, at that same price, it's 0.8 now. They just start shaving off the top. Since the new coins had the same legal value as the old legal value, the purchasing power of them all declined as coins became more abundant. More sophisticated methods of increasing the quantity of money have been used in countries with government-controlled central banks, but the net result is still the same. An increase in the amount of money without a corresponding increase in the supply of goods means that prices rise, which is to say inflation. Conversely, when output increased during Britain's Industrial Revolution in the 19th century, the country's prices declined because the money supply did not increase correspondingly. Look at that. A self-correcting government. Let me read that again just so you guys see that. This is a great example right here. He said when output increased during Britain's Industrial Revolution in the 19th century, the country's prices declined because the money supply did not increase correspondingly. It's a valuable economic lesson to learn right there. Doubling money supply while the amount of goods remain the same may more than double the price level, as the speed with which the money circulates increases when people lose confidence in its retaining its value. During the drastic decline in the value of the Russian ruble, pay attention right here, this is very important. Remember I said that we was going to talk about Russia? During a drastic decline in the value of the Russian ruble in 1998, a Moscow correspondent reported many are hurrying to spend their shrinking rubles as fast as possible when the currency still has some value. Something very similar happened in Russia during the First World War and in the years immediately after the revolutions of 1917. By 1921, the amount of currency issued by the Russian government was hundreds of times greater than the currency in circulation on the eve of the war in 1913. What did I tell you about money and war? Patriot Report. Go get your copy. The link is in the description box below. Go to Amazon, go to my website, Get you a copy, man. You got to learn about this money. This ain't no Creature Jekyll Island situation too. We talking about the entirety of its history as far as the Western world is concerned, and we diving into Rothbard and some other great sources of information. All verified, congressional record. Let's continue. So it says here, when output increased in during great no, I'm sorry, we're down here. War. On the eve of the war, 1913. By the time the eve of the war came around, 1913, the Russian government had 100 times its currency in circulation, saying the price level rose thousands of times higher than in 1913. When the money circulates faster, the effect on prices is the same as if there were more money in circulation. When both things happen on the large scale simultaneously, the result is runaway inflation. Now remember, we still got to talk about deflation, and so inflation. This is just the light stuff. During the last crisis-ridden year of the Soviet Union, 1991, the value of the ruble fell so low that Russians used it for wallpaper and toilet paper, both of which were in short supply. Look at that, yo! I'm about to decorate my house with this shit. Imagine your currency so trash, you decorate your house with it. You wipe your ass. Imagine wiping your ass with the dollar. Like, man, I ain't got no toilet paper. You got any money? I got a couple of dollars. Perhaps the most famous inflation of the now listen. I'm just reading what Sowell wrote, so don't y'all start calling me all types of names. I'm just gonna read off the page right here, and I'm gonna try to do it without blinking. Perhaps the most famous inflation. This is the claim he said. He says the most. Let's highlight that. This is Sowell. This is not me. This is no me. Perhaps the most famous inflation of the 20th century occurred in Germany during the 1920s, when 40 marks were worth $1 in July 1920. But it took more than 4 trillion marks to be worth $1 by November 1923. What? What? They went from 40 to 1 to 4 trillion to 1 in 3 years. Less than 3 years. We get history lessons, economics lessons. People discovered that their life savings were not enough to buy a pack of cigarettes. Your life savings couldn't buy you a pack of cigarettes. The German government had, in effect, stolen virtually everything they owned by the simple process of keeping more than 1,700 printing presses running day and night printing money. Some have blamed the economic chaos and the bitter disillusionment of this era for setting the stage for the rise of Adolf Hitler and the Nazis. During this runaway inflation, Hitler coined the telling phrase, starving billionaires. For there were Germans with 1 billion marks that would not buy enough food to feed themselves. Starving billionaires. Wow. The rate of inflation is often measured by changes in the consumer price index. If you were tuned in yesterday, we talked about the consumer price index a little bit. Like other indexes, and I touched on this a little bit yesterday, but Sowell's going to give it to you real refined like other indexes. The consumer price index is only an approximation because the prices of different things change differently. For example, when consumer prices in the United States rose over the previous 12 months by 3.4% in March 2006, these changes ranged from a rise of 17.3% for energy to 4.1% for medical care, and an actual decline of 1.2% in the prices of apparel. So you see here, you got a 17% change in energy, a 4% change in medical care, and 1.2 in clothes, right? But then they try to combine all those numbers into one price index, and it's just like, and they try to tell you like that's supposed to tell you, some indicator of inflation. I'm telling you, these people be making up shit, yo. They be just making up shit. You're not dumb. I'm telling you, when people say, yo, I don't understand the economics, it's not that you understand the economics. They dumb. They just making up shit, so it don't make no sense. When you try to understand it, it don't make no sense because it's not supposed to make sense. The trick is to make you believe that what they're saying makes sense. That's the trick. And they've taken over whole universities and institutions. Remember, I showed you that. They said Harvard, Yale, and all these economists. Let's continue. So now we're going to get into the deflation section, right? And this is where things really get ugly. Like, people think inflation is bad. It's not the inflation you have to worry about. Well, it is, but it's its brother, its twin brother, its arch. Hold on. Boom, boom. AOC, my bad. Let's go here. So they said here, that they're going to raise interest rates, right? Prepared to accelerate the interest rate hikes. This is a form of deflation, or a method in which to bring deflation, shrink the currency, right? So this is what they're talking about. This is what they said the Fed going to do. So the next section we're talking about is talking about how these interest rates, remember we talk about interest rates, how these interest rates are going to affect the economy. So we're going to talk about deflation now. Let's go back to the book. I'll read this. While inflation has been a problem that is centuries old at particular times and places, deflation has also created problems, some of them devastating. Let's go through some of these because these are actually pretty interesting. From 1873 through 1896, price levels declined by 22% in Britain and 32% in the United States. These and other industrial nations were on the gold standard, and output was growing faster than the world's gold supply. While the prices of current output and inputs were declining, debts specified in money terms remained the same, in effect, making mortgages and other debts a burden in the real purchasing power. Making mortgages and other debts more of a burden in real purchasing power terms than when these debts were incurred. This problem for debtors became a problem for creditors as well when the debtors could no longer pay and simply defaulted. Hold on. And even more disastrous deflation occurred in the 20th century America, as noted at the beginning of chapter 15. The money supply in the United States declined by 1/3 from 1929 to 1933, making it impossible for Americans to buy as many goods and services as before at the old prices. Right? Prices did come down. The Sears catalog for 1931 had many prices that were lower than they had been in a decade earlier, but some prices could not change because there were legal contracts involved. Okay? So, a couple of examples there of deflation, right? Now, here it says, just as inflation tends to be made worse by the fact that people spend a depreciating currency faster than usual, in order to buy something with it before it loses still more value, so deflation tends to be made worse by the fact that people hold on to money longer, especially during a depression, with widespread unemployment making everyone's job or business insecure. Not only was there less money in circulation during the downturn in the economy from 1929 to 1932, what money there was circulated more slowly, which further reduced demand for goods and services. That in turn reduced demand for labor to produce them, creating mass unemployment. So deflation correlated with unemployment. Let's continue. Theoretically, the government could have increased the money supply to bring the price level back to where it had been before. The Federal Reserve had been set up nearly 20 years earlier during the Woodrow Wilson administration to deal with the changes in the nation's money supply. Woodrow Wilson explained that the Federal Reserve provides a currency which expands as it is needed and contracts when it is not needed, right? Inflation and deflation, and that the power to direct the system of credits is put into the hands of a public board of disinterested officers. You see how he tried to throw that in there? Like we wouldn't catch that. Disinterested officers of the government. Oh, they have no interest, huh? Okay. They're in charge of the money supply, but these officers have no interest. They control the money, but they have no interest in any ulterior motives. This is what Woodrow Wilson wants us to believe. Disinterested officers of the government itself to avoid control by bankers and other special interests. So they're supposed to protect us from the bankers. The bankers is protecting us from the bankers. Oh my God, this is hilarious. Anyway, however, what a government can do theoretically is not necessarily the same as what it is likely to do politically or what its leaders understand intellectually. We talked about the other day. These fools is talking to Federal Reserve chairmen, but they don't speak a lick of finance. So they don't even understand this stuff intellectually. Moreover, the fact that government officials have no personal financial interest, okay? So they say these government have no personal financial interest. Decisions they make does not mean that they are disinterested. And this is Sowell calling them out as regards the political interest involved in the decisions. Yeah, you control the money, you control political decisions potentially, man. You can change a whole lot within a society just by being the guy that. Don't make me start pulling out Illuminati quotes. So they try to, pull, Woodrow Wilson try to pull that disinterested, hot garbage, out of his pants. Hold on a second. Let me see. Damn, that's it. Okay, we got through it all. Awesome. Well, this is kind of relevant. I'll read this last piece and we'll get out of here. Looking back on the Great Depression of the 1930s, both conservative and liberal economists have seen the Federal Reserve's monetary policies during that period as confused and counterproductive. I'll read that one more time. Looking back on the Great Depression of the 1930s, both conservative and liberal economists have seen the Federal Reserve System's monetary policies during that period as confused and counterproductive. Oh, counterproductive, like completely doing the opposite of what they were meant to do. Oh my God, I'm so shocked. Milton Friedman called the people who ran the Federal Reserve in those years inept, and John Kenneth Galbraith called them a group with startling incompetence. Is it incompetence or convenient incompetence? Chris Campagna, he said, just purchased his book off Amazon. Another great video. Thank you, Hotep. Appreciate you, homie. Thank you for supporting and paying your tuition. People be more like Chris. For example, the Federal Reserve raised the interest rate in 1931 as the downturn in the economy was nearing the bottom. With businesses failing and banks collapsing by the thousands all across the country, along with massive unemployment, today any student in Economics 1 who answered an exam question by saying that the way to get out of depression is to raise the interest rate will be risking a 0 for that answer, since higher interest rates reduce the amount of credit and therefore reduce the aggregate demand at a time when more demand is required to restore the economy. So you're saying the way the Federal Reserve was operating today, we'd be like, yo, what are you doing? Like, bro, stop it. You're an idiot. You're just an idiot. Nico, appreciate you. Said common people can understand inflation. They know to buy dollars to avoid it, but they don't know why it happens. That's where the politician profits. Indeed, the politician is always going to win. Yo, that's it, man. That's it. We done made it through all the today's lesson, man. Inflation, deflation. Go out and get that book. So the books, the main sources today was this one right here. Thomas Sowell, Basic Economics. You gotta get that. I got it in the hard copy and digital. And then, if you want to see, so one thing like he illustrated was that money sometimes, tags along with war. So, he say like follow the money. So I started following the money, and then I basically detailed it all here. How every time war pop up, there's money problems. So that's the Patriot Report by yours truly. And I got more great works coming out. Let me check out the chat for about 5 minutes, and I'm gonna get out of here. Lauren Little in the chat. Appreciate you, Lauren. What up? Tasha Kayleen is in the building. Lauren's OG. Lauren is OG Hotep. He said everyone needs a payday loan with 1,000 interest, then we'd be good. You like the lesson today? Thanks, man. Yeah, we bring you. Let's see what's trending before while we just try to bring you good information, man, useful information, man. So you don't be looking like I just don't want y'all to look like idiots out here. That's all. I just don't want y'all to look like idiots, man. Cause then they start saying, "Yo, Hotep audience stupid." Nah. Let me put y'all on game. You know what I'm saying? I need y'all to be smarter than me. Yeah, I can go down these rabbit holes. So the people are still distracted. Ohio Supreme Court strike down GOP, drawing legislation. What is this? I'm about to look into this. So we got that. And is it gone? And just like that, it's gone. I knew it would be. And just like that, it's gone. The exact subject matter that we're talking about is no longer trending. Just like that, it's gone. You saw it. So we came in the chat in the very beginning. I'll refresh it here. This is US only. And inflation was at the bottom. If you rewind the stream, you'll be able to go see it. But 7% inflation was trending. Now it's no longer a topic of interest. It's the things that are less talked about that are the most important. And that's what I like to cover on this channel. Not necessarily what's the most talked about, but what's the most important. It's the most paramount in our lives. That's what we try to cover. Hotep Dutch in the chat. Appreciate you, Dutch. Hope all is well. Yeah, those are the two main sources, Ambo. The Sowell Basic Economics and my book, The Patriot Report. I'll read my book first. It's an easier read. The Thomas Sowell joint it's a reference book, man. You're not sitting down reading 600. You gonna fall asleep as soon as you get to page 10. If you maybe page 5. You know what I'm saying? So you just need to have that. You just need to have a copy of the Basic Economics to refer back to when you want to study particular parts of economics. And just bite away at it little by little. My book, you sit down, you can read that bad boy in a couple of nights and get a clear picture as to what's been going on out here with the money, and start smelling a fishy. Somebody said learn to grow some food. I would back that. Absolutely. Yeah, there's some Rothbard in here. Yeah. Audiobook read by Hotep? No, just these presentations. There's a presentation here called Patriot Report. Instead of me doing an audiobook, I'm doing presentations on the material, which I thought was better. And it's free. So you guys can go watch it on YouTube, the Patriot Report playlist, and basically get each chapter of the book, and there's videos in each chapter of the book, and you don't have to buy the book, you can just watch that. But that would be trash if you didn't buy the book, because you should definitely have a copy of the book. You should definitely read it. You should just have a copy of it, just in case, because it's really like a lot of facts too. Like somebody asked me a question about a book, I'm like, I don't know, man. How much facts is in here? It's like 2,000 like factoids in this book. I can't remember all 2,000 of those things, the names and dates and all that stuff. But I got it all in there. And they can't say it's conspiracy theory because I pulled straight facts and straight sources and congressional records, like I said. And I read a lot of pages of congressional record. And it was quite interesting to see the arguments that people made about certain subjects. When you get a chance, you should just read some old school congressional record. It was kind of wild. He said, didn't notice the stream, what I missed. Hey, man, run it back. I'm about to get out of here. Appreciate y'all. Grifty's coming soon. Grifties.com. Get in tune. But we're shooting this weekend. Hotep and Bill, lay y'all.